If you are fresh off a breakup and can't see how the pain will ever end, this episode will give you 4 specific things that you can do right now to relieve this pain and so you can begin to heal and move on healthfully. And be sure to hang around until the end of the episode where I'll pull an oracle card that will offer a specific message that you can use this week to stay more conscious in your healing. Welcome to Lucid Living with Bree, the podcast helping women to heal from the mindfuck of confusing relationships and break out of those frustrating cycles so that you can step into your best self and attract and hold healthy love. I am your host, Bree Wolta, relationship clarity coach and EFT certified practitioner. Let's dive in. Hello and welcome back. I want to start with just a deep breath and really acknowledging how painful breakups are and the amount of heaviness in your heart, maybe confusion in your mind. You know, having somebody no longer in your life that once took up space, that once occupied your heart in some capacity is really tough. And there's loneliness and there's grief and there's sadness and there's potentially anger and just cascading amounts of emotion. And maybe you're even second guessing the breakup, or maybe you're not sure if you should go back, or maybe you're missing somebody who you know you shouldn't go back, but because they really hurt you or abused you or otherwise, but you still miss them. And that is confusing of how you can miss somebody who hurt you. Grief is so nuanced, and I see you in that. I've been where you are. And as I was moving through the ending of my really toxic relationship and struggling with literally everything I just mentioned, I wish I would have had a structure in the middle of something that felt so wild. So grief is really unpredictable, right? We don't really know how to meet ourselves in that, or what the fuck to do. I just wanted somebody to be like, okay, this is step 1, this is step 2. And while grief isn't linear, there are some things that we can put in place to help you feel like you're being held in this wild chaos that's happening within you. So I'm hopeful that this episode, my intention with this episode is really to give you those 4 things to start with, to have a start, right? To find your footing, put your feet back on solid ground as you're moving through all of this. So we're going to go through the four things that I want you to do. The first one is I want you to clear your physical space and your mental space of your ex. And first, let me preface this by saying you don't have to get rid of these things forever for good. You don't have to go and burn your mattress, or actually that'd be hard to do. Don't do that. Or delete all of your pictures, okay? The finality of that can often keep us from doing that or keep us from removing the things from the space because we aren't ready yet for that finality. So if you're not there, that's okay. I want you to just remove the things from your space. So anything physically that you can see, pictures, memorabilia from trips, trinkets, if they had a specific blanket they loved, or anything that you look around your house and you're like, that is associated with him, that reminds me of him, and just put it in a place where you can't see it. So if you have a basement, put it in a box in your closet for right now, just get it out of your sight. Because every time that you look at something, it triggers that memory, right? And when we're going through heartbreak, our brain really wants to help us not feel pain. So it takes us back to nostalgia. It takes us back to remembering all of the good times. And all of a sudden, we start to forget all of the bad times. So it's really doing your heart a service to not have the constant reminders, whether it's conscious or subconscious, of things that remind you of them or make you miss them. If you can replace stuff and it feels good to literally get it out of the house, if you had a couch together or a mattress, right? These types of things, if that's in your budget to be able to do, that's even better. And that can really help cleanse energetically the space. but just removing it out of your line of sight is going to be tremendously helpful, especially in this beginning period of like right post breakup, where your heart is extra tender. Like we want to be able to really tend to that and not keep throwing salt on that wound. Sage the shit out of everything. I joke that when I got my ex out of my house, I was like, there's not enough sage in the world that can clear what happened in here. And I can say that jokingly now, but at that time it felt very heavy. And I was saging like several times a week, like often. So sage, Palo Santo is a great also energy clearer. They also just smell really good and feel like you're taking care of your space. So you can have a little bit of pride in this new space that you have. Which leads me into the next part of this. After you remove everything that you can, that reminds you of him, I want you to invite people that you love. So invite your girlfriends, maybe you have close guy friends, maybe it's family, whoever you feel like, these are my people. Invite your people over and ask them to bring one small thing that can add some new energy and new life to your house. So the budget range is, we want to be mindful of where people are, but like a tiny little cactus succulent that you put on your windowsill. So as you're washing dishes, you're reminded of your friend. Or maybe your friend sees this beautiful dream catcher and is like, oh my gosh, this is perfect for you. I want to get this for your room to bring in new energy and to help like shift where you spent so much time with this person. It can be big or small. They don't have to buy you a new couch. It's like a little housewarming something, right? Just something to add new life into your physical space. You will be amazed that when you start looking around and have all of these different associations with things that you love and the people who love you, how fulfilling and heartwarming that will feel. The second piece of this is to clear your mental space. So, like I said, you don't have to go through and delete everything forever if that feels like way too much of a finality commitment. But turn the like Google picture reminders that pop up, like what happened on this day 2 years ago. Like you don't need to see that shit. That will only, again, like spark, oh shit, that was a good memory. Also, we only typically take pictures with good memories, right? Maybe there's a picture of a trip that's also associated with like, oh, that trip was actually really terrible. But we don't want to bank on that picture being the one that pops up. It's probably the one of you with him when you look really happy or maybe were really happy. So just turn off the Google Pic reminders, mute them on social media. Again, you don't have to unfollow if you don't want to unfollow, but like you can mute people for I think 30 or 60 days where they just don't pop up on your feed. And we want to help you, again, have control of the stimulus that is coming into your mind. So instead of the Wild West on social media and you being afraid of every time you open your phone, like, am I going to see my ex? Just take it off. And you can also mute friends that you share that might potentially be posting things of that person. That is not mean, right? I don't even know if people know when you mute them. I don't think they do, but that's just you caring for yourself. So again, give yourself the permission to be in control of the stimulus coming into your brain. And then picture-wise on your phone, if you can put those pictures in a hidden folder, or you can just make a commitment to yourself to like not look backwards past your breakup date. You have to be really mindful of that commitment because there will be times that you are like, fuck it, I just feel like shit and I want to look at everything and just like be in this hole of despair. And that's part of it. But as best as you can, try to not look back. Try to not keep putting salt on the wound. This is just an opportunity for you to take all of these memories, right, pictures or otherwise, in your mental space and like mentally putting them on a shelf, much like maybe physically you're putting all the stuff in a box and putting it in a closet to tend to later. you're putting the mental stuff on a shelf to be able to come back to at some point when you're not so raw. And then at that point, you can decide, do I want to get rid of these forever? Do I want to put them in some sort of something that I don't know. Whatever, you can decide whatever you want to do at that point. But in this moment of acute pain that you're in, it will help your mind and heart so much to not have the constant reminders. Okay. Number 2, after you've cleaned your mental and physical space, I want you to start making a list. And I want you to make a list of what didn't work in the relationship. And how many times did you try? Right? So like, if communication was just never working in the relationship, if every conversation turned into a yelling argument, how many times did you try a different communication technique? How many times did you try saying, I need us to go to therapy? And how many times did he say, yes, I want to go, or you're crazy, we don't need therapy, right? Just like making a list of all of the things that didn't work or didn't feel good. So this is one of the most impactful exercises that I do with my clients in my signature program, Becoming. And we go into much more depth around what we can do with this list in that program and really like helping you work through all the feelings that come up as you make this list. So as you're making this list, meet yourself with compassion. You might need to do it in small steps so it's not overwhelming. And this list is really at its core, like that thing that you want to remind yourself of or look back on when nostalgia starts to take you out, right? When your brain starts going into those justifying places of maybe the relationship wasn't that bad. Maybe I was just making this to be a bigger deal than it really was. So you want to be able to remind yourself of the data, of the facts. And that's such a big part of what I'm doing with clients because our emotions are so intense and so convincing that we will literally convince ourselves that the relationship was fine and we had a couple of hard moments when in reality it was baseline hard with a couple of good moments. So bring yourself back into the facts, into what actually happened. The second list that I want you to do, this is the number 3 thing to do, is then to make a list of also who you were in that dynamic. Again, this is part of the deeper dive that we do in my signature program, where we really piece out, like, who did you become in that relationship and who do you actually want to be? So for instance, in my relationship with my ex, I was becoming jealous. Like historically, I wasn't a very jealous person, but I was very untrusting. I was very scared a lot of the time of what he was doing, why he wasn't texting back, what he, where he was, like just very overconsumed. I was anxious as hell. The anxiety that I felt in that relationship was so intense and so abnormal for me and not present in my other relationships. I was becoming a person that I no longer recognized. So I want you to make a list of who were you in that dynamic? What were your behaviors? What came out for you? And meeting yourself again with compassion of like, not this isn't an exercise to beat yourself up of how you were. It's to help you see, like pull back from the relationship and be able to just see it in a different lens. And again, as you start to fall into the nostalgia of maybe it wasn't that bad, you can revisit this list of like, oh, well, I was actually anxious and jealous and unable to sleep and, put on weight because I was so stressed out, like whatever it was. That is important information. That is important factual data that we can use when our mind starts to take us out. Number 4 is going to be this is a tip, a tool, a thing to do to really give you a sense of control in the uncontrollability of grief. So again, to come back to that structure. So these 4 things are in itself a structure, but this number 4 is really the way that you can save so much confusion and resistance as you're feeling whatever feelings are coming up. So if we can't control the feeling that's arising through our grief path, our grief process, right? We might be totally okay with it and feeling relieved and excited to be single in the morning. In the evening, we might be crying on the floor because we're so sad that we're going to be alone forever. And then the next day, we might be pissed off of like, he is the worst person in the world. I can't believe I was with him. And then by dinner time, we are like, oh my God, I miss that we used to go to this restaurant together and maybe I want him back. It's so confusing. So what you can do, what you're in control of is how you meet the emotion. You're not in control of cherry picking which emotion comes, because it might be anger, it might be sadness, it might be happiness, it might be whatever it's going to be. But you are in control of allowing that emotion in its full expression so that it can then move. So what happens sometimes in grief is anger comes up and we're like, I already felt angry yesterday or 2 days ago. I thought I was done with anger. And it's like, we're not in control of the timeline of how many emotions come up or what in our environment is triggering emotions to come up. So as anger arises again, instead of saying, why is this happening? And I'm so angry this is happening. And I'm so tired of spending so much time on this person, emotionally and energetically. Just saying, anger's here. Okay, I'm going to let myself be pissed. I'm going to talk out loud. I'm going to journal. I'm going to yell into a pillow. I'm going to go for a walk. I'm going to go for a run. I'm going to do something intense exercise to like just rage on the Peloton or whatever you're going to do. But allow yourself to be there without that being wrong. The more time that you spend trying to analyze why the thing is arising in your psyche, the less time you're actually feeling it. So what we resist persists. And if we keep being angry at ourselves because anger's back or sadness is back, we're not doing ourselves a service to move that energy through. So emotions are just an expression of energy. And we can meet it, we can feel it, we can move it so that then we feel that relief. Like, have you ever allowed yourself to just fucking ugly cry? Like, maybe you're resisting something for a little while or something, and then you're like, oh, I'm just gonna give in. And you ugly cry for like 20 minutes, and then you're like, oh my God, I feel so much better. That's the movement of the emotion. So we don't want to keep compacting all of these emotions down, pretending like they don't matter, pretending like they're not there, pack them down, distract ourselves because they don't go anywhere. So you being able to feel these emotions and process these emotions right now is going to help them from bubbling up and expressing later. So later could potentially be when you're in a new healthy relationship and now all of a sudden all this grief and anger is coming up about your ex. Like, we want to avoid the big volcanic eruptions. So the more that you can just meet it as it comes without questioning why it's coming. Just, okay, anger's here. I'm going to do it. Okay, sadness is here. I fucking hate this, but I'm going to do it. You don't have to meet it with like, I'm so excited to be sad today, but it's meeting it with, this is where I'm at, and I'm going to allow myself to express the sadness in the ways that I need to. So one of the tools that I use with my clients is called EFT tapping. And this is a nervous system regulation tool where we are actually tapping on points on our face and our torso and our hands to send signals to the brain that we are safe. It regulates the nervous system. So as you're feeling a big emotion, you can tap to help yourself hold that space for things that feel really distressing, right? Especially if anger or sadness are like emotions that weren't okay when you were growing up. And it's like everything in you wants to just avoid it because it's unfamiliar and it doesn't feel good. And you're like, I don't know how to do this. learning the skill of tapping can really help you hold yourself in that space so that you can be with the emotion, so that you can move the energy. If you have no idea what EFT tapping is, go back to episode 6. It's called How to Set Boundaries That Work Without Feeling Guilty. And it's an episode that I talk specifically about boundaries and speaking your needs, especially with exes, actually, ironically, and how you can do that when you start to feel all these emotions around setting boundaries. But at the end of that episode, there's an EFT tapping tutorial, and that will teach you how to use EFT to navigate wild emotions, to navigate the things that you feel really out of control of or triggered by, which is grief. It's just a series of big emotions. So EFT tapping will give you the very tangible, super easy to learn skill so that you can regulate your nervous system when everything in you is feeling dysregulated. Okay? This is also something that is so vital in my program, in my signature program, Becoming, because we can't really explore to the depths of the root of our patterns of why we're showing up in the way we are in relationships or why we keep attracting the same type of person. We can't question our beliefs if we don't feel safe. So we need to open that safety container so that we can actually turn inward instead of being so hyper-focused, hyper-vigilant on our external environment. So regulating the nervous system, it will help, there's no downside. It will help you feel your feelings in the moment. It will help you explore more deeply into the places that you have some sort of ego protection coming up when it gets too close. Your part of you is like, nope, we're not going there because that's painful. So it helps you find more clarity, which then helps you be able to shift your patterns. It's so fucking cool to watch clients in my program be able to start to feel things that they've never allowed themselves or never known how to feel or known how to make sense of. So, huge advocate of tapping. Go back to episode 6. Okay, so let's recap. What did we talk about? 4 things that you can do right now to help with the pain that you're in. Number 1 is to clear the physical and mental space. Get all of those trigger things out of your environment so that your home can really be that safe, sacred place and you're not walking on eggshells in your own house. Number 2, make a list of what didn't work in the relationship so that when nostalgia takes you out, you can bring yourself back. Number 3, make a list of who you were in the relationship so that, again, when you start to convince yourself that it wasn't that bad, you can see the data. And number 4, give yourself that sense of control in the grief experience by being in control of greeting each emotion as it comes. Even if you don't like it, even if you're mad that it's happening again, greet it, allow it, give yourself space, and I promise you that is going to help you integrate this more quickly. And honestly, it is painful, but it will be less painful if you just greet it as it comes instead of storing the pain away. And then it's just this ever-present pain. I'm sending you so much sweetness as you are moving through the pain. And I say that with my whole heart because I know that grief is something that is on a different timeline for everybody and at different intensity scales for everybody. And I just see you in that pain. And I want you to know that you're not alone. It's not abnormal if you're missing this person, even if they hurt you. It's all just a part of your brain trying to make sense and recalibrate and you finding yourself again. So really, really give yourself this space. Try to not future trip into the fear of dating again or the fear of, am I going to be alone? It's you have enough emotion right now to work with just what happened in the relationship. Let yourself be there. Let yourself be there so that you can move to the next level, the next part of the healing when you feel ready. And I really, really want you to dive into episode 6, the How to Set Boundaries That Work Without Feeling Guilty, because of that EFT tapping tutorial. And I want you to try it. I want you to just give it a go. Next time you feel a big emotion, let yourself start tapping. Even if you're like, I'm doing this completely wrong, just let yourself start tapping and feel what happens in your body, because it's going to help you navigate the triggers. It's going to help you, again, it's going to hold you in that container while you're feeling the wild emotions of grief. It's going to help you feel safe in something that feels really scary. And as we finish today, I want to pull an oracle card on your behalf. So this will offer a message that will help you stay conscious in your healing. Oh, okay. So we got body vision is the card that came out. If you can't see the screen, it's a picture of an eel, it looks like, with like electric things coming out of it. Let me find, okay, here's what body vision has to say. Body vision calls you to be fully present in the moment, to experience life with all 5 of your senses. Imagine the information you could collect if, in every interaction you had, you consciously sensed into your vision, skin, hearing, eyesight, and even the taste of a moment. Your full body is always working for you to enrich the experiences of your life. Body vision is a vibe meant to encourage you to slow down, get present, and soak up the richness of the moment. Body vision is the antenna that tunes you into the unspoken, the unseen, the unheard, unsmelled, and untasted. Live presently in your whole self. You are receiving this message because you have gone unconscious in some area of your life, and body vision is like a finger poking you to wake up. Get your senses online. Tune in, tune in, tune in. Do a little reflection and see how that card lands for you. And I will see you in the next episode.